So everyone can see the screen?
Yes.
Yes, po.
Okay. So I want to emphasize here first the like the three constraints of project management. So you have the scope, the costs, and the time. And then the middle is the quality. So I think this is the first things that we should remember with regard to project management. So I want to show you this exciting engineering or science project. It's called the International Thermonuclear Experimental Reactor. This place is 9 kilometers or 26 minutes drive from the Eiffel Tower in France, southern France. So the scope is to make 500 megawatt fusion power, like reproducing the energy being delivered by the sun or stars. It's quite interesting. And then you can see from the duration, they started coincidentally while I'm studying in MFI, 1988 to 1990. But they started the construction almost 16 years after. So at the moment, it's almost 74% complete. So it's happening in our lifetime. So it's really interesting. And you can see also from the cost, how they change. So when they sign up the agreement, it's 5.9 billion euro. And then when they doing the design, it jumped up to 19 billion. And then when started constructing, it's 22. So you can see how this, the scope could change and the duration can change, and that affects the quality of the project. What I like with this one is the collaboration of different countries. Just imagine China and the US together, and other countries. You can see from there. Yeah. So let me, while waiting, let's. Oh, sorry, the tool is waiting, Irma and Roy. Okay. Yeah. So let me play this. What it's all about.
Australia has been offered a ringside seat at the hottest show on earth. ITER is the next step fusion device. ITER have invited us to install Australian technology. This is an opportunity for Australia to be a part of the next phase of the global clean energy revolution.
Our future is dependent on having clean, safe energy that can be utilised by the population as it grows and allows us to have the quality of life for as many people as possible on the planet. Fusion energy, the power of the sun, this is the solution. The sun works on fusion. That's smashing hydrogen atoms together to make a heavier atom and releasing a large amount of energy. The fusion energy of the sun brought to Earth would be a clean, safe, sustainable form of energy for our future.
Unlike the sun, we need to produce high pressures and high temperatures to produce plasma. ITER uses powerful magnetic fields shaped like a donut to hold the plasma inside the machine called a tokamak. We also have a very wide range of plasma measurement systems, which we call diagnostics, and these are used to measure plasma parameters like temperature and density in order to control the plasma, the intense environment in which the fusion reactions occur.
To build this device that has to have temperatures much higher even than the sun, you have to have the best materials and you have to know what's going on in that machine. And between the ANU, who have got the diagnostic capability, and ANSTO with the materials capability, and a raft of universities across Australia, we have the opportunity to partner and participate in this great project that is happening in a global consortium.
I'm standing in front of the H1 Heliac. It's been the centrepiece of the Australian Fusion Research Facility for the last 2 decades. Based on the work we've done here over a number of decades, we have an invitation to join ITER and establish a new Australian fusion program there to measure temperatures in excess of 200 million degrees and supersonic flows in the heart of the fusion plasma. Essentially, we've developed a Doppler imaging camera, which enables us to measure the temperature and the flow speeds in the edge of the plasma. There are no other competing technologies that can do this, and our instruments are now installed on frontline fusion devices all around the world.
I first started working with ANU around 10 years ago, and we now have a number of Australian-built cameras installed on machines both here in the UK and also with our collaborators at the Southwestern Institute of Physics in China.
Australia can make important contribution to the ITER project, in particular in the delivery of the advanced Doppler imaging system.
ITER organization and ANSTO signed an agreement last year to allow Australian scientists to come and participate in the multi-billion-dollar ITER project. We have reserved prime port space on ITER for a Doppler coherence imaging system. Because coherence imaging is an Australian invention, Australia would be the best place to develop a system for the ITER company.
The cost to develop and deploy a Doppler imaging camera on ITER and to establish a future fusion program for Australia on this device is around $30 million over 10 years. Of that, a large fraction will flow back into Australian industry and enterprise supporting the development of the program. ITER itself has committed to funding up to 15% of the total costs of the Australian contribution. For a small investment, Australia can leverage the multi-billion-dollar global program that is ITER. It's an opportunity to keep us prepared for the coming age of fusion and inspiration for our next generation of scientists and engineers. It's an opportunity that we can't afford to miss.
Please come and join us in the world's largest research energy project.
Okay, so it's really interesting to watch this space because I have a feeling that they will not finish it in 2025. Because the fact that they're changing the costing, this is the manifestation that they're not really sure yet of what the activities are. So they will be like changing all the time. So one reason of this is no one did this one yet. So it's like a first time to do this, which is understandable. If we compare this to like building or having a project of making a SM or Jollibee, those contractors, they build it multiple times, so they know how long will it take and how much, so I think you know what I mean. Okay, let's move on. So I made around 12 short videos about project management, and out of these 12 videos, 4 of them are included on this webinar. So those are the WBS, work breakdown structure, project schedule, risk and program evaluation and review technique. Let me minimize this. Okay. Yeah, the main goal of this webinar is for me to walk you through the project management cycle from start to end so that you can have essentials needed to get into project management. And I think the best way to do that is to have an example that all of us are at least familiar with, if not an expert. So on the webinar, I'll be using layman terms, while if you try to watch these videos, most of them are just PM, project management jargons. So the outline will be this one. So first, I will give you the overview of the 4 phases of project life cycle. So basically, those are this one, the first one. I have to write something. It went down. Okay. So this one here, and then the second phase is this, and then the third phase is this 4 and 5 together, and then this is the 4th one. So I'll give you the general description first of all of them, and then we're going to into details. We're going to dive in deeper into understanding each space. So the approach will be from general to specifics. Okay, so to start with, we're gonna have a project, like a hypothetical project. So we have here an upgrade of a cloud and database server, for example. So the project will be, we will need 5 servers, 3 per cloud and 2 per database, for instance, into a physical data center. So same as before, same as the old ones. And then same specifications, as I said. And then we will just add cybersecurity. As we know, that's very important. And then once implemented, of course, we have to test it. And then we are going to have a go live date. So we are given a date. So this is a bit tricky because if you have a project, you are approached by a client, okay, I want this to be done and give me your time frame. So that's easy because, you know, the time is open. But in this case, we're given like a deadline. So that's a bit tricky. And then finally, we have to decommission and absorb all equipment into inventory. So basically, general requirement is not really detailed yet because first we don't know where is the old center and where's the new center. Are they on the same building or are they gonna move from different place? So we don't know. But at this point in time, don't worry about it. Okay, now we talk about the general things under a project life cycle. First, we have to plan. So here we have to define the problem and objectives. So finding out who are the stakeholders, determine scope and resources, major tasks, and prepare for trade-offs. And then for build up, assemble your team, and then you have to create the schedule and a budget, and then kickoff meeting has to be started, and then implementation. This is like 80% of the time. So you have to monitor the schedule and budget from the baseline that you prepared when you build it up, and then prepare and conduct regular reports, and of course manage problems. And then closing the project is just reviewing the performance of the team, lessons learned, and prepare your final report, and of course the handover to the client. So with all these phases, we need the human skills, as a project manager. So I'm gonna show you each key skills for this for each phases. Okay, so for planning, you need task analysis, planning, and cost-benefit analysis skills. The tools we're going to use is work breakdown structure. So we are going to do this after in a little while. And then while building up, you have to have process analysis, team building skills, delegating, negotiating, recruiting, hiring, communication, and the tools you need are the critical path method, program evaluation and review technique, and the Gantt chart. So we are going to learn all this later. For implementation, supervising, leading, motivating, negotiating, communication, conflict management, and problem solving. And then for closure, follow through, planning, training, communication, and the post-evaluation report. We will have some examples and of course the lessons learned. I made like 163 or 200 plus slides, and this is my favorite because this is like the one in your screen right now is like the mind map or in a nutshell, the project management. And this one is not included on the videos as well. So Okay, let's move on. To click there. Okay, for planning, we have to define the real problem, identify your stakeholders, set project goals, prepare for trade-off, spell out the tasks. So for the defining the problem, so we have to make sure that we have in the same page with the with the stakeholder. And usually the stakeholder are those who spend money and those who will use the system and everyone who get affected by it. So you have to apply the SMART principle on making the goals like specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. So the project that we have is more or less specific, but not 100% measurable because we still have to know the building we are going to work in, what's the space area, or how big is the the telecommunication room. So how many workstation outside the telecommunication room? We know that the server will be inside that room, but how far it is. So we have to like make a interview with them. Are we using category 5 or category 6 cabling? And then are we gonna do it ourselves, or are we going to under contract with PIBX contractor or something? So still we have to work on this. But for the sake of discussion, at least what's going on. And then prepare for trade-off. See, remember this is the. Let me draw again. Pointer options and yeah. So remember the scope, schedule, time, and the budget or the costing. So if you change the scope, you have to change one of these, schedule or budget. So preparing the trade-off means you have to talk to the client. Okay, so what is your priority here? Do you want to keep the budget? That is, like we have to stick to it. That means you can only change a bit of schedule to get the scope according to specification. So really, if you change one, the other one should change. And then you have to know the priority, and then the work breakdown structures will be doing next. All right. So here we have the work breakdown structure for the cloud and database server project. Keeping in mind all the descriptions that we have. So there's another way of doing this. So you can have like, let me analyze it. So you can have like this. Just want to show you the other alternative of doing this. You can have like, if you are using your phone, maybe it's hard for you to read this, but if you are in the desktop, it's better. So here you can have like hardware, and then this block is software, and then here is your like the go live, and then under hardware you put everything in it, like installation, decommissioning, procurement of the hardware, and then for software, all your installation of the operational system. So everything under hardware is testing. Now I prepare the horizontal one because it's better when you write them into the tasks. Now if you use this, the one that I just drawn, you're gonna go vertical. It will be difficult to make the Gantt charts. I will show you later. Anyway, I just wanna highlight that. Okay, so here we have. So you have to remember that the first level and the second level, all that one, they are not work packages. So they are just titles and names. So there's nothing inside that boxes. Okay. Now the level 3 and 4, that's that's your work packages, meaning inside that you can put you allocate the person who will do that and how much it will cost. Okay. So basically, third level downward is all work packages, and you can get a complex system, complex project can have up to 20. So this is not complete, because if we make this one really, kompletuhin natin, ang haba nito, ano? So you're gonna end up filling up all the screen. Okay, so now we have the WBS. We are now building the project. First, assemble your team. Assign each team member to a task. So get to know their capability, if they need training. Avoid my way or the highway. So that means trust your teammate. And then kick-off meeting, assign roles and responsibilities. So if you have a team member that is doing two jobs, like operations and project, then that's really tricky. So you have to know how much time your team member can commit. For example, 10%. So 10% per day is like 50 minutes. So in 1 week, that's around 4 hours. 10% of 8 hours a day. So you're not going to spy on that 4 hours, but what I mean here is you allocate the job that fits that time. Yeah. Just for example, and then set the schedule. So we are going to begin with the deadline, translate all the relationship dependencies. We have to define the critical path method, Gantt chart, and then the PERT. That's the tools that we are going to use. And then for the budget, remember all the costs that need to be fulfilled, like personnel, the rates, engineer, programmer, technician. Then the travel, do they have to go to another place to get trained or to travel or to perform acceptance tests? Do we need space to rent? Do you have to buy research results from the other companies? And of course, the capital expenditures, all the servers, modems, switches, overhead, insurance premiums. Now, insurance premiums is usually overlooked by the project manager, because sometimes it always comes up after making a risk analysis. If you're like expecting your project to be coming from overseas, for example, and there is a damage, then we don't want to pay for that. So that's very risky. So we're going to do some trick or a technique to avoid the risk, and that is called risk transfer. So using insurance is transferring your risk to another organization or company. And then licensing fees, all the electrician, do we have to pay for those? Maintenance fees if we need it. Okay, so moving on, building up your project. Okay, so for picking up the software, the checklist would be, it has to have capability to make schedules and budgets. It can create bar charts, like all these three that we are going to discuss. And then you should allow easy alterations, integrate all the schedules into the calendars, including weekends, holidays, for example. Create different scenarios for contingency and planning and updating. Alert you when you are overscheduling someone or groups. So after the picking up a software and making all this, WBS, we now have to translate the WBS into a Gantt chart. So as I said, so this, you're going to start with the title that goes on the top there. So this column is your all the task names will be written all here. And this time you have to think about the sequence, the right progression of the project. So obviously, we're going to start with buying the equipment. There, task 1. And task 2 will be, so this is just what I thought, if some of you might have a better idea than me, and then, so you can change it when the time comes. You have to do some, project related to this, for example. Then you have database, then the commissioning here. So these are just titles. So that's why I did not put any duration across that, names or titles. Now, every work packages, there is a milestone. So you got here the first milestone, the second, third, fourth, and fifth. And each one has 0 days. Now, different project managers have different styles. So that one I'm showing you works for me. And I like this because it's very neat. So I just put milestone in every task packages and then put 0 days. Now, the signing up, the very first one, you can put 0 day, it doesn't matter. Or you can put 1 day. That's when the contract has been, approved or signed by everyone to start, especially, the one who will pay for it. Okay, so these are the work packages now. The third, subtask level 1 and 2, which are the third, the third level downward. So, for example, for the cloud, you have these 3. You have the core configuration there, implement cybersecurity testing, okay, and so on. So, make sense? Okay, so now after listing all the tasks, so remember we have a deadline of May 2004. So how do we put all these days? Okay, so what I did, so when I prepared this, slide this January this year. So basically, I just noted the deadline, then calculate the number of days, including weekends. Don't worry about it, all days. So 365 times 3, roughly, 1,200 days. And then what I did is to put half of those days, so 600 days, to the task that I'm not comfortable with. So for me, my decision is according to what I feel and my, my background and experiences. Database configuration is a bit, like outside of my comfort zone. So I put 600 days there. So maybe I need training. I need, really good people there. But the others, so more or less, I have a feeling that it's easy, Cloud architecture, we can ask for, we know someone, for example, or an agency can do that. Decommissioning as a technician should be easy. So anyway, I just play with the numbers. So 40, 30 days. And then anyway, this one is only estimate. Don't worry about, not actually performing the project on the exact duration. These are just estimates and you can change along the way. Okay, so yeah, so that's the number of days. And then if you plug in the first day and set the MS, I use MS project here. So I just set the calendar into auto schedule, automate. So just put the first date and then it will populate all of those dates from start to finish. Okay, so that's that one. Then next. It's not going in if I have to click that. Okay, so here, so we're now doing the predecessors. After listing all the tasks, you have to know the sequence. Okay, so here I decided that the procurement and installation are happening at the same time. So I did that by putting the predecessor number. So remember, these are the task number. And then I put 1 on task 3 and 4. That means they can happen at the same time. You might like, oh, wait, hang on. How can you install operational system and application without the server? Because we are still buying it. So we cannot do it at the same time. So my idea here is, why wait for the server to come if you can do it on, you can prototype on an old computer, or you can buy something cheaper or less with lesser power or speed. That should be okay, isn't it? So you can just practice with that. So that's what I mean by doing them together. So I want them to be concurrent. So the same true with other tasks, like I want the 13 and 14 installation of database and importing data happening at the same time. So these two. And these two. So they are all concurrent, as you can see in here. And all the rest are just like waterfall schedules. So as you can see here, it's like waterfall. So you cannot start with one without fulfilling the predecessor first. Okay, I think that's all I want to say there. Okay, so now I just have to drink. From the Gantt chart, we're now developing the network diagram. So this one is important in determining the critical path. The critical path is the shortest duration that you can complete the project. Shortest. So to make highlighter, I don't like yellow, so I just make gray. Okay, so remember I told you the title, disregard them, so don't worry about that. That's only a title. Milestone, don't worry about that. We don't need it for the, don't worry about this, don't worry about this. Don't worry about all these. Except the first one and the last one, because they are going to be your start and end. So we put one here to start and then get an end. So every project has one start and one end in the network diagram. If you have two end and two start, that's something wrong is in there. Okay, so to start with this, so you can like follow this step. Sorry. So I know that we're gonna start with 1 day. So signing up starts 1 day. So I got 1 day. So I know that the successor of this is task 3 and 4. So all these numbers are the task that you assign, remember? So what you do is, so the predecessor of task 5 is 3 and 4. And the duration of 3 and 4 are 40 and 30 days. So that's your 40 and 30. 3 and 4 is the predecessor to get to 5. Now the predecessor of of number 10 is something similar. It's 8 and 9. And the duration of 8 and 9 is 14, 30. See? So that's the one. No, wait, hang on. I get lost somewhere. Ah, yes. So this 1440 is actually the duration of task 5. Okay, so 40 days, and without completing this step, you cannot start with 8 and 9. So there. Okay. Same as what we start here. So you cannot start with 3 and 4 without spending 1 day for the approval. So something similar happened with number 10. So the predecessor of task 10 of 8 and 9, there, and 8 and 9 has the duration of 40 and 30. So these two there. And you have to do this until you finish. Now the critical path can be determined by selecting the duration on the arrow with the lesser number. So we pick 40, and then this is the same, 40, 50. So I want to show you something here before we go on. So pick number 10. I want to emphasize something I remember. So remember for number 10, now we move on to 15 because I want to show you something. So in 15, the predecessors are 13 and 14. So these two. So this number here, 11, is pointing to the milestone, which is okay, but ideally it should be 10. Okay? Because when you finish the test cloud functionality, okay, that's the milestone. So we can like they can release the money when we finish. So like milestone, sometimes they attach payment for that, progressive payments. So this number here, 10, that's 10 there, the task can be up to number task 14, okay? Yeah, so it doesn't matter whether this becomes 11 or 10. Okay, sorry about the interruption. So and then so we continue with that. Okay. So and then you have to add all of those. We got 881 days. So remember, when I make this duration, it's almost 1,100 days. But now we reduce it to 881 because we have 3 slacks. So step task 4, 9, and 14 are called slack or floating. We have a floating duration because here 1430 we have 10 days float, or like we can like adjust the activities there. We have allowance. Okay, so 300 and 200 we have 100 days. So if this is delayed by 100, it's okay. Anyway, you see later. I think that's all for that. Okay, so now we're going we will proceed with part analysis. So I did not show everything yet because this is where we're going to come up with the one number, with a single number that will represent the measure of probability or degree of confidence, Z. So that number will tell us the whole project completion times with various desired level of confidence. Now, the significant value in communication this value is significant in communication and documentation in project management. So it will be easy if you have like Excel file, you don't have to, use it in Excel is quicker. So here you listed all your tasks, and remember in all the steps, there's no 4, there's no 9, and there's no 14. Okay, because you are only listed here all the tasks that are in the critical path. Okay, and then you just copy. You just copy all the duration there, and then the most likely. Now, usually, most likely completion times is the same as duration. But for the sake of discussion, I change one of them. So here, the 60, I put 30 there. Just let's see what happened. So most likely you put there, and usually it's equal to duration. And then you write your optimistic. Optimistic means, earlier completion times, which is obviously less than most likely. And then pessimistic will be you get some delays, and then you add them. Okay? And then after that, you calculate. TE is expected completion time. So it's equal to optimistic plus 4 times most likely plus pessimistic all over 6. And then you get the summation again. And then you get the standard deviation, which is equal to pessimistic minus optimistic all over 6. Don't add them yet. And then the variance, which is the square root of standard deviation. And then add them, total variance. And then this is very important. Get the final number for standard deviation, which is the square root of the total variance. So remember, it's not the summation of the standard deviation, but the square root of the total variance. Now we are going to need this number and that number to calculate for the Z, the degree of probability, which is equal to TC, which means desired completion time, and expected minus expected all over the square root of summation of the variance. Okay, so for example, the client says, okay, let's say I want to finish it one month earlier than the critical path, So we're going to have this negative 0.076. So we are going to need the standard normal distribution curve to get that. So from this number, negative 0, which is this part, that's roughly negative 0.08, and this one, then you just have to project it. So you have 46.8 probability of finishing the project. Okay. Well, obviously, if we make it equal to the expected time, we're gonna have 50% chance. Okay, so now let's try a bigger number, longer time. So if we pick more than the critical path 890, we're going to get 96.9. So we got 1.86 to get that one. You have 1.8 there, and then 0.06 there. So 96.9. Okay, so now these values, the percentage is really good in presenting your report to the client, because you are not just saying, okay, I feel like we can finish it 1 month ahead with with certain degree of confidence. So you're not bluffing or anything like that. You have a calculation. However, in presenting this to stakeholders, you don't have to show them the calculation. You just say, okay, the probability is 97%, and that's all they want to hear. Now, if someone asks, how did you get that? Then you present it, or maybe you just email him or her. Okay. That's all for that one. Okay, so now we know the PERT analysis. We did the Gantt chart and WBS. We're ready to go. So we're like, let's start. Delegate and track results of the track results and problem. Monitor the progress. against schedule and budget, ensure quality, and report progress to stakeholders, delegate routine and specialized activities. So here, the command and control is already obsolete. So we don't command people and control them. So nowadays we just have to trust and track. And we're just going to track their performance by baselining. Baseline from the schedule baseline and the budget baseline. So we pick systematic method, emphasize timely information for the schedule. I will show you later some examples of this. And then you can make some S-curve or budget forecast and see the deviation of your actual expenditures with regard to the budget, ensure quality control, used checklist, inspection, sampling with predetermined benchmark standards, and ensure that you're giving stakeholders with the right amount of information in the right format. So this is the example of a progress report. So you have title, the period. It's not start to end, but just the period of the task. Let's say first quarter or first 3 months. Achievement. Okay, so we received the server. Coming up next, we need to install the operational system. Resolve issue. We have decided to use category 6 cable, and we know the length, and we order them, but need to resolve. So I don't know, something about what kind of switches we're gonna use. Just making it up. And then decisions made need to be made by whom, when. Implications, any changes. Okay, so we want fiber optics. What's gonna happen if we do that? How much will be the change? And then list the action steps that will be done to help move this project forward successfully. Put the name, responsible, the task, the responsible name, the date, and some comments. So just, basic ideas. Okay, so baselining. See, we have this Gantt chart. Let's say we received the servers late. Okay, so we need to set the baseline first. So setting the baseline in Microsoft project is like this. So you see the dark line there. So they are the baseline. That means they will not change. Now, what happened if we have the delay? So we're gonna, let's say you got 40 days there. Let's say, okay. So here you can see the next task, which is installation of OS and application, as well as the testing. They have to move by this much. So here is, you got 40 days. So you will say, you don't have to hurry up using this graph. You don't have to hurry up your stuff, like in doing configuration, or what's this in here, like implement cybersecurity. So you don't have to hurry them up because you have too much slack here. So you got slack there that they can use, and especially here, this is 100 days. So this is what I'm talking about. Don't worry about making your days exactly on the same, like exactly on like exact amount with regard to performance, but just make up something there, because at the end you still have time to change them. To say something there, I think that's it. Okay, so this is the baselining the budget. So the blue one is your baseline, like the budget that you agreed on. the one that you sign up. And then the purple one is the one that is the actual. Okay, so you see here you have like a bit difference there, so you can see the overrun of the budget just a little bit. I don't know, so maybe let's say the insurance that we're talking about that we missed out at first. And if the budget is up to, let's say, 880K, we still have, I think the point should be here. So we still have like maybe 80K contingency for any emergency thing. And if you need the scope change and they want to make fiber optic from backbone to I don't know, 12 workstation outside the telecommunication room, for example. So you have to think about reducing the cost somewhere else. Well, in this graph, you're almost at the end, okay? So you have like, you can only change the budget on the last, okay? So it should be, because this one I made it a bit, late, so it should be here. If this is somewhere here, then we can like use the budget somewhere here and there. We got 4 milestones that we can adjust the budget, okay? For example. So really all these graphs helps in deciding, and it's so easy to show it to the stakeholders when you have a meeting, because they can see easily, graphically, I mean. Here's some exciting one. Problems. Scope creep, delays, budget overruns, talk about it, and people issues. Okay, scope creep, make sure that the stakeholders are aware of the constraint of project management triangle, the triangle. So the way to resolve this problem is to have a, they call it freeze date. It's like, speak now or forever hold your peace. Like the day where after that, no one can speak, no one can do changes. And sometimes, not achieving the quality project or less than what you dream of is not a bad thing. As long as it works, the clients are happy. Then if you do not achieve the highest, the perfection, that's okay. You negotiate additional budget or time extension, communicate. So we talk about finding or informing the stakeholders. So constant communication is really important about this problem. And this is the critical part. So we have people issues like lacking of skills, team member quits, conflicts, etc. So I just use derivative control because in process control, you apply this when the disturbance is like frequent or unpredictable, just like human, like people. So the problem with the schedule, you set the schedule, you set the budget, you get that scope. They're more or less fixed. They don't change on the daily basis. They're just there, you just monitor them. But people, there's a lot of changes and unpredictability, okay? So derivative control means don't wait for, to get the biggest offset. Like offset means if your set point or target is the scope and you have all these variables, schedule and budget and people, don't wait for the people to have like not showing up anymore at work, getting a big problem. Don't wait for like 4th day or 5th day. The moment you see it on the maybe first day, okay, maybe just traffic. The second day, okay, so it's second time already, and then the third talk right away. Okay, so solve the problem. What's going on? Maybe he wants to do the operations instead of project. So clarify things. Okay, that's what I mean by derivative control. Okay, so here we want to talk about this really, deeper. So we have all these problems, causes, lack of skills. Sometimes we overlook it and then we just discover during the execution. Team member leaves, no one's fault, sickness, retirement, transfer, change of mind, friendliness, chatting over coffee during work, conflicts within a team, difficulty in reconciling different personalities, working habits, or area of expertise. So here, guys, I'm not talking about one is good, one is bad. Because I'll tell you one experience. There was like a scientist, she is a good influencer. She is an activator, maximizer, disciplined, commanding, achiever. So it's really like, okay, this is your job. If you have a problem at home, leave it at home. Do it right now, today, right here. So something like that, like nothing wrong with that. So things get done. And you have this employee who is a relationship builder. That's his like talent DNA. He got this empathy. He wants harmony. He's a relator. He's a learner. He has belief in people. He wants, to be in harmony with everyone. So for sure, these two characteristics can have a conflict. Okay. So there's no blame there. So conflicts happen, even if everyone is the best people, and we have to resolve this. Okay. So incorrect task, poor time management. Team members prepare some tasks over the others, regardless of relative importance. Project management sent wrong messages, misinterpretation, poor quality deliverables, misunderstanding of job. Different team member measures work using different standards. So you have to analyze what is M. Is it micron or millimeter? So you have to verify the information. Some does not have adequate skills to complete the tasks. So if you have all these problems, what will be the impact on the project? Of course, you will have delays. For those who are transferring or moving out, if this is a programmer with really, really good, experience and like a genius, then the potential impact could be catastrophic. So no one can replace him. He's gone. He went, he quits. So what you gonna do with that one? There's no backup. There's no shadowing. No one knows he did not do any documentation. Not his fault, because he got a lot of job to do. He doesn't have time to do documentation. He has to do everything, and he did it. The problem is when he leaves. Okay, team member friendliness. The impact will be delays. Hardworking team member will resent those who work less efficiently. So this thing happens. And then conflict within the team. The schedule, overall productivity, and team cohesiveness could all suffer. Remember when you're like a bit younger or 20 years ago, you encounter this person that's really annoying, he's like, he or she are a bully. And you have this feeling of grudge and hate with that person. And then 25 years later, you are in a meeting or you are organizing your team, and you find the same different person, but the same personality, like mannerisms. So what's gonna happen here is there is like an automatic face shield coming into your face, like you are depending, because in the past you have this bad experience. Now be aware of this, because this one will have negative impact on your within the team. Okay, so forget about that happened. And there's also a word like forget and forgive. Sometimes we just have to forget. No need to forgive because there's nothing to forgive anyway. It's no one's fault. These people below you, under you, they bring with them their own experience in the past. That works. So when you're in the meeting or group chat, something like that, they will bring up something that they believe in is right, and it's okay. So all we have to do as a project manager is go to the solution and focus on that. No blame, zero blame. It's like not 0.001 blame or 0.1 blame, it's zero, absolute zero blame. You just focus on the solution. Okay, so incorrect task, critical task delayed, project delays, and then poor quality of work. Work must be redone, costing money, and the project fails. So these are the potential impact. Recommended action. Provide training. Hire contractor for if they lack necessary skills. Placement. When team member leaves, before he leaves, cross training, shadowing. Or if you're lucky, you can hire a better one. Too much friendliness. Emphasize that social gatherings should be planned on Friday night or something. Reorganize team subgroups to minimize, eliminate cliques. Conflicts within a team. Focus team members on project goals, not on personal feelings. Separate the underlying causes from the surface. Disturbances to root out problems and focus on solutions. Zero blame. I think I explained that. Clarify which task is more important. Delegate work in pairs to have check and balance, and provide resources to help team members improve time management skills. So what do you mean by provide resources? For example, okay, so we are installing the system, and beside the building, for example, is a paper mill. So they have a lot of motors, and while we're checking the grounding system of the building, we are having some noises. So we don't know where it's coming from, and the only way to check our network is to isolate that noise. But we're using an oscilloscope connected to the wall, to the mains. So one solution there is to buy a handheld like oscilloscope, with Wi-Fi connectivity, maybe something that can store values, data, and that will cost money. But sometimes we have to provide them so that those team members will not have to spend too much time solving problems, which can only be solved by just providing a resource like a material or equipment. Okay, so poor quality. Be clear at first with quality expectation and standard of measure. Make sure it's all clear for each and everyone. Provide action plan for improving the quality of team members' work. Okay, so that's people skills related topic. So now we go to the risk matrix. Okay, so risk matrix is not something you have to build. Okay, so the company or the industry should have something like this. The occupational health and safety team or department should build this for you. So all you have to do is to use this in evaluating the risks. And here you can see the likelihood and the impact or the consequence. So this is pi by pi matrix. Okay, so this is also called the heat map. So the higher the number, the worse it gets. So the goal here is to put all the risks down to number 2. Okay, so let's take a look closer with what's in here. So insignificant, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 areas that could affect the risk. People, information, Well, for our project, maybe information, reputation, and financial and capability. So, and then the worst case, so no one will die with our project. Okay, so you can read all that. So for significant consequence on a financial, more than 30% of the project will be spent on top of the main agreed budget, for example. So let's see here, you have a likelihood, the chance of getting it happen. So for likelihood, you have two category, qualitative and quantitative. So you have from rare to almost certain. So if you look at the quality, it's just a description, it's not quantifiable. But when you look at the quantitative, do you have a number, like measurable things? It's not really exact, this one. But for some companies, they have the exact amount, like 1 over 100 years or 10 years that it will happen, something like that. But anyway, we just use this. Okay, so let's have an example using the matrix. So in our project, I decided to put the scope creep on this number 7, which is likelihood of unlikely and significant. So why? Because I feel like scope creep could happen at some time, and if this happens, financially we can spend more than 30% of project budget. Schedule delays, that's possible, might occur at some time, but the effect will be negligible because we have slack, we have floating days, we can adjust. Budget overruns might happen at some time as well, but it has a significant effect on financial or what is this? Yeah, so only that one. Then the cloud architect unavailability also might happen. So for information, maybe I decided that it's maybe this compromise of information sensitive to organizational interest. So that will be the consequence. So you as a project manager will decide on this one. You can consult other people with experience. That's good. Then the last one for me is the cybersecurity below expected performance. So if that happens, then the significant consequence could be in information, which is compromised information with significant ongoing impact, security. So well, if you have a different outlook with this, you can change this. Like for example, I work with cybersecurity. I know that's not gonna happen, so you can put that there, number 3, no problem. And maybe you think, scope. My boss, my client is keep changing his mind, her mind, so maybe you put it there. So it's up to you. So you decide on this, and you present this on your stakeholder, so that it's clear with everyone what's going on, and they can help out for the solutions, how to mitigate these risks. Like risk. I have some video about the risk, about how to deal with the risk, and it's good to watch that one. So this one will bring us to almost end of our project management course. So for the closure, we have to prepare for the handover, conduct post-evaluation, post-project evaluation, develop a useful final report, thank everyone, celebrate, pizza, barbecue, wine, and prepare for the next project. Okay, so transition of project to operations, maybe you need to train them. One last meeting to improve the process and avoid problems in the future. Project current and future status, risk assessments, lessons learned. Celebrate, acknowledge each team member strengths and weaknesses, focus on lessons learned, and then personal reflection. Project management is a skill. The more you do it, the better you become. Only if you reflect on your accomplishments and concretize your solutions gained from your setbacks. All right, so we have here sample post-evaluation report of our cloud database server migration project. So you have to write down the attendees and apologies who are not there during the meeting. Okay, so project task. During the equipment acquisition, so we got the servers on time, for example, but there is logistical problems on the transport of the database which caused delay. So the way to improve this is order in advance or earlier. Software installation and configurations. Okay, so 3 days were recovered. Bruce and Carol did a good job. Test equipment, successful. During testing, bug in the database content was discovered and corrected prior to cutover. Project task, go live. Smooth cutover with minimal downtime. Some users were not prepared. Ways to improve that: communicate using email, meetings, decommission of all equipment, what worked, backup, erased, dismantled, all done. But there's a confusion over serial numbers and inventories. So ways to improve: during the early phase to minimize problem, check the serial numbers. Then last, with test equipment, all good. So this is the example of the evaluation report. Really simple, straightforward. Then team's performance assessment. Achieving the goals, objectives, all achieved. Meeting deadlines, final completion date, successful, met the target. Monitoring and staying within the budget, all good. Slight overrun, unavoidable, understandable. Communicating with stakeholders, partial success. We could have done better if we communicate at early stage and make it, make everyone aware of which phases. Appropriateness, sufficiency, and efficiency. Time, people, and money. Generally, all appropriate, but there was an overrun. Team members were experts, no problem with that. Time allocations are good. Project completed on time. Then key lessons learned for future projects. In every stage of the project, it is significant to foresee the next tasks and to communicate to groups or individuals about the resource requirements as early as possible in the project cycle. Only by doing so, we probably acquired equipment without delay and would not have to panic so much in the later phases to meet milestone and deadlines. Someone is asking to admit, I forgot. Too late. Okay. Okay, I think that's, some people are still signing in. Anyway, okay, to summarize. We talk about project cycle, planning, build up, implementation, close out. Planning your project is about goals, talking to stakeholders, clients, WBS. We did not talk about request for proposal, so you can watch the video about that one. Building up your project using these three. So if you know these three technique, then you can start with any software you want. Should help. Managing your project, delegation, monitor, report, communication. Dealing with your project problems. Keep in mind these 4 variables and set point, the target. And then bringing successful conclusions, celebrate, evaluate the report, evaluation report, and lessons learned. That's it. Thank you for your attention, and thank you for the host. For the Zoom honor, Fernando Santiago.